Okay, we're here, we're live. I want to thank you all for joining me today. If you can hear me clearly, please drop a one in the live chat and then we can get today's show started. And while I'm waiting for the ones to come into the live chat, please make sure you hit the like button if you have not already. That way, that will communicate to YouTube that you are not only interested in this video, but you want YouTube to make sure that this video permeates throughout its algorithm so that it sends the notifications out and that others will receive this video in their notifications to watch it as well. Also, please make sure you share this video on your social media platforms. And if you're new to the channel, please subscribe to the channel and hit the bell notification next to the subscribe button so you can be notified whenever I release a new video or go live. And lastly, if you haven't already, please make sure you join my Telegram group. The link to the Telegram group is pinned in the live chat above. It is also in the description box below. So please make sure you do that as well. My goal is to reach 1,000 followers on Telegram by the end of the year. We're currently at 282 followers or subscribers, I guess is technically called on Telegram, but trying to get that up to 1,000 by this year's end. So let's see if we can make that happen. Now, I see the ones are starting to come in. So let's get today's show started. Let's get it started. Now, before we get to the main discussion, I kind of want to have a quick side discussion concerning what's currently happening in Massachusetts. As you can see on your screen right now, more Massachusetts madness, illegal aliens now in the driver's seat. And what this is about and what's happening in Massachusetts is that illegal aliens will be able to get driver's license regardless of immigration status, right? Doesn't matter if they're undocumented or not. They can now get a driver's license in Massachusetts. And my main reason for bringing this up outside of the obvious is that, I just want to continue to stress the importance of local politics. What you're seeing happening across the country in these major cities and the states overall as well, from California to Illinois to Massachusetts, is you're watching local politics pick up where the federal politics, we'll call it, or national politics have fallen short as it pertains to the Democratic Party. Essentially, what they want to do is put in place sweeping immigration reform that essentially will create a fast track to citizenship for all illegal immigrants in the United States. But because that's currently not happening, once again, on a local level, these states are picking up where the national politics is dropping the ball and can't get things done on that level. So they're taking it upon themselves to, make it legal, right, for illegal immigrants to get driver's license regardless of their citizenship status. They're able to become, police officers, non-citizen policing that will take effect in Illinois January 1st of next year, unless Willie Wilson's lawsuit against the state of Illinois is actually successful and is able to put that law to bed, right, for lack of better words. But if that doesn't happen, then in Illinois, there will be non-citizen policing. Non-citizen policing is already legal in the state of California. So I just wanted to once again just take a moment to highlight how important local politics is and the necessity for us to actually take that more serious than the national politics, right? Organize on a grassroots level, build up our own local politicians, get them into office so that we can get the things done for us in our community that we need done, right? So very quickly now, I do want to go through this article. I'm not going to spend too much time on it because I do want to be out of here in about 30 minutes. But let's get into this very quickly, right? So let's hop in. And once again, there are 117 people in here right now. If you haven't already, please hit the like button. So let's get through this very quickly. The Division of Motor Vehicles, DMV, known in Massachusetts as the Registry of Motor Vehicles, with all the same misery, is one of the last places on earth any person ever wants to spend time. Despite that, when the calendar rolled over to July, virtually every RMV across Massachusetts was overwhelmed with celebratory crowds lined up and anxious to get inside as if mega lottery prizes were being awarded. In a way, that's what it was. Illegal aliens by the thousands turned out to apply for driver's license as the state's if oops, as the state's euphemistically titled Work and Family Mobility Act became effective. The new law grants licenses to all Massachusetts residents, regardless of immigration status. The state is also very excited. Transportation Security, Transportation Secretary, Gina Findica exclaimed, "The Registry of Motor Vehicles is ready to welcome all residents, regardless of their immigration status, as they seek a driving license so they can legally drive to get to work, school, the doctor's office, and to see family and friends." She committed, she's committed to do whatever it takes. $28 million being the most recent cost estimate, with some of that money to be recouped from fees charged to applicants to process up to 200,000 undocumented residents applying for driver's licenses, although FAIR's estimate is closer to 316,000. Now, I always like to make sure to highlight this as well, right? Because now we're coming into the Democratic Party, and we all know how much our people love to vote blue no matter who and get nothing in return for our votes. Boston, or I should say, the state of Massachusetts, just like the state of Illinois, it has a supermajority, right? It has a supermajority. When you go to Massachusetts General Assembly, as you can see here, Massachusetts General Court, you scroll down here and you can see, just like the state of Illinois, super majority. Let me zoom in a little bit so you can see that better. Democrat ran from top to bottom, right? As you can see, in their Senate seats, out of 40 Senate seats, Democrats hold 37. And out of 160 House of Representative seats, Democrats hold 132. Okay. And it gets even worse, you can say, when you go to the actual city of Boston. Because when you get to Boston, as you can see here, Boston City Council, right? Boston City Council is all blue. There isn't a Republican in sight in Boston City Council, right? 13 officially nonpartisan. Of course, nonpartisan, because there isn't a Republican in sight in Boston City Council. Okay. So, with that being said, and with the way in which we love to vote blue no matter who and get nothing in return for our votes, and also given the fact that, I mean, I guess the Democrats, they love us so much, they love black people so much, and people say they do a lot for us. I can't seem to find what they do, and no one can ever seem to answer that question for me. But if you let diehard Democrats tell it, they do a lot for black people. I mean, with all this Democrat control happening in Massachusetts, from top to bottom, then why on earth is the racial wealth gap in Boston as egregiously large as it is? I mean, this is insanity. The racial wealth gap in Boston is probably best known by one of the most mentioned statistics in Massachusetts politics, derived from a Boston Federal Reserve Bank 2015 study that found the median net worth for white households in Greater Boston was $250,000, while for black households it was just $8. $8 compared to $250,000. And this is a state and their main city, which is Democratic control from top to bottom. To call it a supermajority is an understatement. Yet the black communities throughout the state of Massachusetts are upside down, the same way that they are in Illinois and throughout the city of Chicago. Once again, and we're going to move on. I've showed this all to you many times before, but I'd like to highlight this because I believe it's very important. Illinois General Assembly, as we've all seen before, because I've pointed to this in the past, supermajority, right? super majority. When you get to the city council of Chicago, out of 50 seats, 47 of them are Democrat. Yet the black communities in Illinois are completely upside down. I've told you guys in the past, and I'm going to tell you again, local politics is the key. It's the key to get done a lot of the things that you're looking to get done on a federal level. It won't happen to the same degree that it could happen in one foul swoop federally, but you can chip away piece by piece, brick by brick on a local level if that's being taken serious. And if we're being honest, the way migrants are being so-called migrants are being flooded into our cities and neighborhoods, it's really only a matter of time until you don't have the numbers in your current city where you're residing in to make change as well. LA has fallen a long time ago. New York has fallen, and Chicago is going to be toast after 2030. Right after 2030, and the new census comes in, and you see that Hispanics are outnumbering Black Americans over there. What's going to happen is that the Hispanic caucus of Chicago City Council, right, the Hispanic caucus of Chicago local politics, what they're going to do is redraw the ward maps to give themselves a greater political advantage. This is something that I've also talked about in the past as well. But now let's move on, because I don't want to spend too much time on this. I could go on, but let's move forward, okay? Because what I want to get into next, is what the actual title of this video is, right? Today's live stream is titled Eric Adams, You Won't Believe What He's Spending $12 billion on. Now, if you've been subscribed to this channel for any length of time, then you know, like I know. And if you have, just two brain cells, it's really obvious what Eric Adams will be spending $12 billion on, right? We all know what that is. So let's go ahead and dive on into it, right? From this New York Post article, NYC migrant crisis could soon cost $12 billion, says Mayor Eric Adams. And before we hop into that, there are currently 214 of you all currently on the live stream. If you have not already, please hit the like button. That is one of the most important things you can do, if not the most important thing you can do for today's video and for this channel. And if you're new to the channel, also please make sure you hit the subscribe button as well as the bell notification next to the subscribe button so you can be notified whenever I release a new video. And please make sure you share this video out on your social media platforms. Now, let's move on, right? Let's really get into the weeds and get into the numbers behind why it's going to cost New York City and Mayor Eric Adams $12 billion to take care of these migrants, right? Let's really jump into this and find out what these numbers are going for. New York City's surging migrant population is set to double by June of 2024, meaning the city will be on the hook for 100,000 homeless migrants, as costs are estimated to rise to an eye-watering high of $12 billion over the next 3 years. So in between now and 2026, New York is looking to drop a clean $12 billion on this so-called migrant crisis. And I call it a migrant crisis because it's a man-made crisis. This is something that was intentionally created by Joe Biden. Okay, this is not something that's happening by happenstance and we don't know what's going on. The Democrats are all about open borders. So this is happening very deliberately. We are past our breaking point, Adams declared in a dire address at City Hall on Wednesday, a day pleading with the feds and everyday New Yorkers alike to help migrant. Let me read that again. He said, "We are past our breaking point," Adams declared in a dire address at City Hall on Wednesday, a day pleading with the feds and everyday New Yorkers alike to help mitigate the crisis. The city currently spends a nightly average of $383 per 25,600 asylum seeker households, including families with kids, adult couples, and singles, for housing, food, and other services, according to officials. with more than 57,300 individuals currently in our care on average night, it amounts to $9.8 million a day. So in New York City is currently spending $9.8 million a day to house, feed, clothe, and provide medical needs, assistance to these so-called migrants. Almost $10 million a day, right? And another thing that I want to make sure to highlight too before I carry on is look at how they're just able to make the money printer print. Money is just coming out. It's raining money. $12 billion, right? And I believe it was earlier this year, and if not also throughout last year, how many of you all remember the live streams that I did concerning how Kathy Hochul, right, the New York State governor, gave millions of dollars, I believe close to the tune of $40 million combined, right? In between, I believe it was November of last year and like March of this year, close to $40 million to the AAPI community. They've given millions of dollars specifically and exclusively to the LGBTQ community. I did videos on all of these for those of you who remember. But when it comes to Black New York, they had nothing for you. Eric Adams gave you a hip hop history museum. That's what he's building, remember? A hip hop history museum. And somehow that's supposed to be encouraging, or I should say, that's supposed to be curbing gun violence in the Black community. A hip hop history museum. Go figure, right? No money for you, but money for everybody else. And now we have this so-called migrant crisis going on, and $12 billion is what you guys are looking to spend within the next 3 years, right? Almost $300 million a month and nearly 3.6 billion a year. The mayor said, "This is the floor, not the ceiling," he warned, revealing the city's current expenses could rise even further. Could rise even further. New figures released by the City Office of Budget and Management shows costs could balloon to $4.7 billion by June of 2024, a leap from the current $2.9 billion estimate over the same time period. So we've gone from $2.9 billion to $4.7 billion. It is just raining money in New York City for everybody else except for Black Americans. Thank you very much, Black Logic, being the first one to contribute to today's live stream. I deeply appreciate your support, and you've been showing me support for a long time. So believe me when I tell you, it does not go unrecognized and unnoticed. He says, "No face TD." I was actually going to cam up today, but long story short, I was rushing to the office because I'm in my office right now. I was rushing to the office, and I forgot to comb my hair. I forgot to comb my hair, and I haven't gotten a haircut in a while. So I got a lot of hair. I definitely need to comb it. I didn't comb it, so I couldn't cam up like that, Black Logic. I couldn't do it to you guys. I couldn't do it. So that's why I didn't cam up today. But I'm gonna cam up soon. But I don't know. Maybe no face TD might be the way to go from here on out, right? Might be the way to go from here on out. And also, thank you very much, Bounds Prosperity, for your contribution as well, being the second person to contribute to today's live stream. Thank you very much for the super sticker. It is deeply, deeply appreciated. And also, and always, YGLT B1 coming through as you always do. YGLT B1 says, "Similar cities like this one have democratic leadership working for non-citizens. I 100% agree. However, when it comes to FBAs, they cannot seem to garner enough votes to make policies to help us stay awake." You are absolutely correct. You are absolutely correct. Absolutely correct. And Black Logic, once again, He said, I see I got the ball rolling. Yes, you did, brother. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And thank you to Greg for showing love on Cash App. It is deeply appreciated. And Black Logic, you definitely got the ball rolling. Thank you, brother. I appreciate that. Now let's hop back in to this article so we can dissect, some more of what's happening in the city of New York concerning all this money that's being shelled out for literally everybody else but Black New Yorkers, right? So Eric Adams goes on to say, I believe this is Eric Adams, right? That's up from the $1.4 billion we spent last fiscal year. And it nearly equals the budget of sanitation department, our parks department, and the FDNY combined, added the mayor. Wow. If things do not change, we expect to have more than 100,000 asylum seekers in our care by the end of June of 2025, driving projected spending to $6.1 billion in that fiscal year if we don't change course. Adams said the new projections would spike the city costs to $12 billion by the end of June of 2025, a massive rise from the $4.3 billion previously anticipated through the end of 2024. To meet this end, we'll have to add $7 billion to our financial plan. Look at how they're just going to add $7 billion like that. We just have to do it. We'll just have to add $7 billion. We got to do it. No choice, right? Forget what you all think about it. We're just going to do this. To meet this need, we'll have to add $7 billion to our financial plan. And this is on top of what we have already spent on this crisis. He added, admitting every service the city spends taxpayer dollars on will hit the chopping block. So in order to make this work, now a multitude of services are going to hit the chopping block. Services that Black New Yorkers actually need and utilize, given the racial wealth gap. Oh, you need a lot of services over there, especially in a city as expensive as New York City. Oh, you better believe with the racial wealth gap as wide as it is, right? Across the nation, Black folks across every city in this country, major city, need all the help and all the services they can get, but they're going to hit the chopping block because we need to come up with that $12 billion to take care of these migrants. Now, I don't say all that for you to go around and start just walking around in New York hating on migrants. No, you got to channel that energy properly and put it towards Eric Adams. Because at the end of the day, the migrants walking down the street, they can't get you that money, but Eric Adams can. These Democratic controlled states and cities can. With all these super majorities, like I showed you over here in Massachusetts and the city of Boston, and all throughout the state of Illinois and city of Chicago. Oh yeah, Brandon Johnson and them, they can get you that money. Brandon Johnson in Chicago found $51 million for the so-called migrants, but couldn't find no money for you, right? Yeah. So make sure we got to put that pressure on those politicians, right? Let's not mess around and take misguided anger and put it in the wrong place. We got to make sure we have it in the right place if we want things to work out in an effective manner, right? Now, look at this graph here. Busting at the seams. 2023 fiscal year, 1.5 billion. 2024 fiscal year, 4.73 billion. And 2025 fiscal year, 6.13 billion. All in the services that you need that's coming at the expense of all this. 12.31 billion in total. I told the team at the beginning of last week that we need to do a real analysis of what we're spending, and we have to even cut that area. So everyone is going to be cut. So everyone is going to be cut across the board, he said. If we can save $1 or $2 on the meals, if we can save on the laundry because all of those sheets have to be cleaned, if we can save on napkins, we can save everywhere. We are looking everywhere to see how we can bring down the cost of the asylum seekers. We have to cut across the board, he noted, without naming specific programs. Roughly 100,000 migrants arrived in the Big Apple since the spring of 2022, and over 57,300 individuals are currently living in 198 emergency shelters across the 5 boroughs. Almost 100,000 men, women, and children have asked for a place to stay. That's almost the population of Albany, New York, His Honor said, comparing the size of the state's capital city. And another thing, too, that I want to make sure to highlight is that when they're saying 100,000, almost 100,000 men, women, and children, understand that 100,000 number is overwhelmingly majority single men. It is overwhelmingly majority single men. Like I told you in my last live stream, I believe it was concerning Brandon Johnson. I don't think that was my last live stream, but it was my live stream last week concerning Brandon Johnson. You know, they like to show you these photos and videos of women and children sleeping on the floors in police station and these shelters, and children sleeping on the floor in these shelters, with their siblings. And it's not to say that that's not happening, because it is, but they specifically show you that to tug at your heartstrings so that you can feel bad and say, yeah, well, let's just send all the money that we need, forget about our needs, let's give them all the money that we need, and just go ahead and pass whatever policy you want to pass. But the reality is the overwhelming majority of these so-called migrants are single men. They're not women and children, and they're not just children by themselves. It is overwhelmingly men. Remember that. Officials tracked 2,900 new migrant arrivals in the city during the first week of this month, between July 30th and August 6th. The crisis exploded during that time as dozens of migrants slept on the streets outside the Midtown-based Roosevelt Hotel because the city had no beds to give them. I have that specific portion highlighted in green because I found it very interesting, right? And I know that you all did too. I know I'm not the only one that found this interesting, right? But I found it really interesting that all of a sudden, right? Let me zoom in. All of a sudden, when that bus pulls in from Texas, I think y'all know where I'm going with this. All of a sudden, when that bus pulled in from Texas with a whole bunch of black migrants, now all of a sudden we don't got no more space. And y'all gotta sleep on the floor outside on the sidewalk. I don't know. Is it just me, or is it a conspiracy? I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Maybe I got my little tinfoil hat on too tight. Maybe I'm just making a racial issue where there isn't one. I don't know, but I find that very, very interesting. But I don't know. Maybe it's me. Maybe I'm just tripping, right? Maybe it's just a coincidence. Oh man. City Hall also implemented a new strategy to free up shelter beds by giving single migrants an eviction style notice, mandating they reapply for placement at the end of 60 days. As of Tuesday, 1,450 individuals received their 60-day notice, which OMB officials project will help cut down the city's overall shelter population. Now, what does that even actually mean? So they're going from the shelters to the street, essentially. I don't see how that really helps anything. And if anything, that'll just create a situation for more crime, because now they don't have an actual roof over their head. They're sleeping just on the streets. You're just kicking them out. So it's just going to create an even worse situation, right? But I don't know. Go figure, right? Shout out to the sanctuary city, New York City. Adams slammed both the state and federal government for failing to provide adequate funding and space to house migrants, as the city has been searching for space within the 5 boroughs, even considering landmark locations like a tent city in Central Park. The city has been allotted around $140 million from the Biden administration, and Governor Kathy Hochul included $1 billion for the cause in the recently passed state budget. So like I said, it's raining money for everyone. City-run legal clinics have so far helped 1,700 individuals apply for work authorization. I'm going to repeat that again, right? City-run legal clinics have so far helped 1,700 individuals apply for work authorization as lawmakers pressure Washington to loosen restrictions on employment approval, right? As lawmakers pressure Washington to loosen restriction employment approval. Make it a little easier, right? For us to get these work permits out. Make it a little easier for these folks to get jobs, right? And then all of a sudden you find yourself, outside of a job because they found somebody who'll do it cheaper. Meanwhile, Adams' administration has been challenging the city's right to shelter law, which requires the city to provide shelter to anyone with no place to call home in the boroughs. You come to New York City and we're supposed to feed, clothe, house you as long as you want, Adams said, referring to the mandate. This is just not sustainable. It's not realistic. So because of that, you will find people come from all over. It's very funny to hear Mayor Eric Adams complain about that, right? When, if I remember correctly, when he was running for office, he ran off of the pride that New York City was a sanctuary city. How many of you all remember that? He was very prideful about that, and he ran on that. New York City is a sanctuary city. How many of you all remember when Lori Lightfoot was bragging on Chicago being a sanctuary city too? Remember when she stated that, Governor Greg Abbott in Texas, don't worry, I'll pay for the buses to bring the so-called migrants up to Chicago. And Greg Abbott said, no, don't worry about that. You don't got to pay for nothing. I'll just send them up there. And next thing you know, she started crying, but not as loud as Eric Adams. Eric Adams has been crying so hard that he actually been placing blame where it belongs on Joe Biden. And because of that, his, political career may be over after this term is up, right? In a joint statement Wednesday, the Legal Aid Society and the Coalition for the Homeless called on the federal government to step up as it fought to preserve the policy. We echo Mayor Adams' call on both Washington and Albany to significantly increase resources. Translation, give us more money. We need more paper. Make it rain on us over here so we can give it to everybody else except for Black folks. To significantly increase resources in the form of funding, staffing facilities, coordination, work authorization for new arrivals, and more for the Adams administration to comply with all court orders and local laws related to right to shelter, the statement read. Speaking in Brooklyn at an unrelated press conference, Governor Kathy Hochul said she would what? Could you? I guess it's a good thing that this article is coming to an end, right? Cajole? I don't know what that says, but she would cajole Albany lawmakers to once again allocate another $1 billion in next year's state budget to help the city deal with the crisis. It's just what we do because I think it's the right thing to do. It's not because of a legal obligation, because of the right to shelter, which is what the city has to operate under, does not apply to the state of New York. Independent of that, I've brought enormous resources to the table, and we're not done yet, Hochul said. So Hochul said, the governor said, we're doing this simply because it's the right thing to do. But what about what's right by your Black residents? The most loyal constituency who votes blue no matter who, to which, these cities and states have a super majority. What about them? Crickets, right? Now all of a sudden, when it comes to you, they hit you with I think that was an old Kanye West line, right? They hit you with the I ain't got it. Yeah, when it comes to Black Americans, vote blue no matter who, get them into office, give them these super majorities in all these states. And what do they hit you with? They hit you with the I ain't got it. And with all that being said, that does it for today's live stream. Thank you very much, Janesta Coleman. I appreciate your support, and I appreciate all the support that you all have shown me on today's stream. It does not go unnoticed. So on your way out, please make sure you hit that like button. That's one of the most important things you can do. Subscribe to the channel if you're new to the channel. Please share this video out on your social media platforms. And also, please make sure you follow me on Telegram. The link to my Telegram is pinned in the top of the live chat above. It is in the description box below. And at the end of this stream, I'll remember to place it in the comment section, and it'll be pinned in the comment section as well. So thank you all for your time. And until the next video, the next live stream, peace. Have a good night and a safe one. I'll catch you next time.